What's up, people? Me, Jeremy, the Utopians bus. I'm getting this subfloor down. Let me turn this thing around. Yeah, so basically I don't have room to store all this plywood and insulation and sticks of wood anywhere outside the shed at this place. That the property we're using is full, and I'm not going to be an intruder there. Got a bunch of stuff up here that'll easily be cleaned out, but basically I'm just dry fitting in these 2x3s. Save a little bit of money that way, and there's plenty of space to butt up plywood to that on top of that, so why not, you know, save the money, and it's still good strength. So I've got basically a joist, I guess you could call it, floor joist, all the way from the back. Got a little curve kicking in the back there, both sides. And then every 4 feet I put one down. Well, it's actually every 2 feet. So every 2 feet there's a joist. This is our fuel sensor that we're going to need access to. So I'll put a little port there and a little handle and everything. Make sure I insulate that too. So every 2 feet around the wheel wells, any of those gaps will get sealed in. I basically used a framing square for all this stuff because nothing is really straight or level or anything in a school bus. So square works best in this situation, and just plain old school measuring. So dry fitting all of these. I still have front to do, but I just finished moving. I had all my plywood sitting here on the floor. You can see the scratches. Moved it over on top of these. Just have just enough space to store my insulation back there and the plywood in front of the wheel well. And then I can continue on with the 2x3s. After the 2x3s are done, I'm gonna get my center point. Basically measure side to side, get a center, pop a line all the way down. And then I've got these 2x2 stringers that I'm gonna put put one in the middle, and then I'll split the difference. It's going to be 2 foot sections, 2 foot squares throughout the whole bus, or less. So plenty of stability there. Some of it will be staggered because of some of the cuts that we had to make already, but nonetheless, I'm going to have a very solid floor here. The only issue that I'm coming across is we've got a little bit of a gap here, maybe I'd say 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch, that makes it elevated. So instead of doing a floating floor like I wanted to, because we had to do this floor patch here and that's thicker gauged metal on top of there, I'm going to go ahead and liquid nail down everything and screw it down to the floor. I'm going to try to be minimal about the amount of screws I put through this thing, but definitely needed. So I guess some 2-inch screws I would say would do it. Got 1.5 inch thickness on the wood, so a 1/2 inch into the metal will be sufficient, I think. And I'll send you guys another update soon as I get this thing gridded in, and maybe be able to shoot another time lapse in the future. I've been having a lot of failing with the time-lapse app that I use on my phone, and I just don't want to dig out the camera and set all that up. It just wastes time, precious time that I need to be building this thing. So if you don't see, you know, very creative build videos, I'm sorry. I'm not in this to be a YouTube content creator by any means. I'm here to build a bus, but I still want to send these updates, and hopefully you'll enjoy them and like and subscribe and comment and all that good stuff. Okay. So, it's the next day, I'm back at the bus. Let me show you what I'm doing. Alright, so front steps here. I still need to piece this in area here. I'll use these 2x2s and just angle out a piece there. All the gaps that you see like in that corner down here, I'm going to put some flashing first. This is just dry fitted in, so I haven't attached anything, and it allows me to move things around and get good angles and adjust. But I got a little gap down there that I need to put some flashing, seal it up somehow, because engine heat is going to come through there like crazy. But I got, for the most part, all these main joists framed in. Now if you see the blue marks there and up against the wood, give you a little closer look. So after running a tape measure all the way from the back wall, for anybody who's new to this, this is how you achieve center. And when you hear people in construction saying 16 on center, 24 on center, those are some standard things. So you get your tape and you go right to the edge. It makes it easy to do it with one person. And then, because that's the first edge, basically the plywood's going to flush right up against that, right where that tape ends. So from that point, I need to measure, plywood is 4 feet in width. So on center means put the 2 feet in the center. Make a mark up the wall high enough so I know where those joists are. Once I drop in the plywood, I'll be able to run a straight line of screws across there. Eyeballing it, of course, but definitely got a line to work with. Same thing on the next one. 4 foot, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. You get the point. So by the time I get to this front section, everything will butt up. 2 pieces of plywood together, one ending there on the right side of my finger, one ending on the left side of the finger, giving you enough room to screw to. So I would love to do a floating floor in this bus, but I'm not going to be able to. And yeah, I could just put down the insulation and plywood right on top of it, but that to me doesn't seem very practical. The stuff gets spongy over time, especially when there's weight in certain areas. It does get smashed. You can see on the edge here, just from it being stored, it's got a different consistency than like towards the middle. So doing this framing underneath is important. I'm gonna go through here. Once I have all this glued and screwed down to the metal, nice and stable, as tight as I can, even if it's a little wavy in areas, I'm gonna go through here, and I got 2x2s, a little bit cheaper, to put stringers in between these, going like this. I'm gonna get my center line and pop a chalk line all the way down the center of the bus, and that way I know where my center is, and just run, you know, make those cuts, run all those pieces in there, dry fit all that obviously as well, maybe glue them down at the same time. And then from there out, I'll go 2 feet that way and 2 feet that way, and then it'll be a smaller borders, because, you know, appliances and framing and things like that, to couches and everything like that coming up here, bed frame and everything, you're gonna need more support towards the edges anyway. So it's better to have a little less space there, more load bearing for things that are up against the wall. Whereas in the middle, it'll be a nice center mark, you know, when you're walking down the aisle. And then, you know, off to the sides, you know, pretty much where the appliances come out to. Once we figure out our bathroom and our layout, you know, I'm gonna put all this plywood in and just apply the whole thing. It would be nice to have a layout ahead of time, because then I could take into consideration that and frame out, you know, typically I think our shower is going to be here in front of that wheel well, and basically, you know, have a space there that's relieved or straight down to the metal floor for the shower pan, and to give you extra headroom. But me and wife here are both short people. I'm 5'7", she's 5'2", I think, so we don't really have an issue even standing up on here with you know, I still got some space. Once you put the ceiling in, you know, it'll be limited, but we'll make it work. So having that extra 1.5 inches to just put the shower pan and drill a drain through there in front of the wheel well where it's not going to interfere with anything. Got to make sure that it lands in between these cross members, floor joist areas, but it's going to be tough regardless, drilling through all that metal. So yeah, it was 61 degrees here this morning according to the forecast. I don't know if that was true. It was pretty cool and nice, but right back to sweating again in Florida. This is just ridiculous. So yeah, I've got the main joists installed, and I just need to work on this little front area. But I'm gonna do that when I get back. I gotta go to Lowe's or Home Depot. I prefer Lowe's just because people at Home Depot, I'm sorry, but out of their minds. I don't know even why they work there. You know, you walk around the store and you see them and you need to ask a question. It's like they run the other way. Whereas at Home Depot or at Lowe's, I've had a lot of help, you know, from the pro desk. And because of that, you know, they got about $700 worth of material out of us. So, you know, it does help to have good customer service when you run a business. And because Home Depot is not very helpful, I moved along across the street to the blue store instead of the orange one. So I'm going to head back over there and grab a case of the big tubes of 28 ounce, I think they are, and a bigger caulking gun, $20 caulking gun, because I've got plenty of the stuff to seal down to the floor. So I'll probably get that Loctite, I think it is 400 subfloor adhesive. It's a little bit more expensive than Liquid Nail and DAP and some of the other brands out there, but I think it's probably expensive for a reason. And a lot of other people are using that to glue down to metal. So that's what I'm doing today. I've got this pretty much framed out for my subfloor. I just need to put in the cross members after, you know, fitting this in once and for all. Of course, when we put our plywood down, it will be somewhat still expanding because of these lips down here. You can't just measure wall to wall and expect to drop that plywood in there. So you've got to pretty much measure from one corner to the other corner and then subtract at least one side of this and be able to slam that down in there and then split the difference between the sides. So there will be a little bit of a gap, probably about it looks like 1.5 inches maybe. So like 3/4 of an inch gap on each side that'll need to be sealed up with some caulking, some silicone. But that'll keep it from expanding and hurting our bus and squeaking too much when we're going down the road. Still not sure whether we're going to put in a hardwood floor or vinyl. I think it might be vinyl. It all depends on how this floor looks when I'm done putting that 3/4 plywood down. If it's real bumpy and, you know, lots of reliefs, which there might be, you know, a lot of these areas are not even, especially where we replace the metal. May have to go with some hardwood because it's stiffer. You're not going to have those big gaps, but I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope that I do a really good job on this. I would have loved to do a floating floor because that would solve that problem, but I can't in this situation because of all the bumps and bad places that we had to patch over and all these pennies and stuff. You can really only do a floating floor when it's completely, truly flat. So I will stop wasting your time here, and thanks for watching the video. I brought you this little recap the next day, and I'll just add it to the last one and put it all together. So thanks for watching. Catch you around. Peace.